So, what is mastering? Okay, well, essentially, of course, the rumors are true. It is making things louder. That's a very, very rough generalization of the whole thing. You make things louder by tweaking equalization levels, compressing and limiting, but there's so much more that goes into it, actually. First off, there's the material that a mastering engineer gets. He looks through it and makes his notes, and if needed, he cleans up the audio track with a special cleaning program, like Isotope RX2 or Audio Soap. Next up, to tweak the levels of the whole songs and determine the order in which the songs are supposed to be played out, as if there is unnecessary dynamic level changes, as in a quiet song is followed by a massively loud one compared to each other. It's not a good ordering of songs, basically. So the mastering engineer is responsible of making the order of the songs be equal to their dynamic levels. Also, a mastering engineer, he starts to tweak the levels a bit more. If a snare is being buried under like guitars or crashes or whatever, he then tries to bring out that snare. And also, looking at it from a mastering point of view, if you're starting to look at a song and you're doing a master of the song, you're looking for the essentials of the piece. Guitars, are they too muddy? Are they being buried under something? Bass, is it enough? I mean, generally it's very important to have good speakers when you're doing a master. Because basically, if you've seen any of those mastering videos done by professionals, they have speakers that are the same height, basically almost as the room itself in which they house them in. It's very essential to do a very good master. If you're doing it with headphones, then it's just like a guessing game, basically, because you can't really get 50 hertz response out of your headphones if you're trying to beef up your kick or your bass or anything like that. You need good loudspeakers. Software-wise, equalization plugin, compressors, limiters, and then anything special, what you consider special. For example, the Tapehead plugin from Massey, or Trash from Isotope. But in the end, it's sound quality that really matters. It's all the basics aside, a good place to start is getting yourself a nice pair of loudspeakers, and then looking into getting nice parametric EQs. A good cleaning software like Isotope RX2. For the plugin side, good nice mastering plugins. Well, the EQs are very, very important. I myself have been using the T-Rax EQ, the IK Multimedia one. The EQ on that is very, very nice for mastering, as it's not a pinpoint EQ. So you're going to be able to notch out a specific frequency, like 500 hertz. You can't just notch out that area with a very narrow EQ, because it's more like a broad stroke EQ. It does quite a lot, and you don't have to tweak it to the maximum ends of the spectrum. You can just do a little bit of tweaking, and then you get a nice result, a nice balance of frequencies, or whatever you're trying to achieve, and then you can also chain different components in it to fit your mix and to bring out your mastering capabilities to the best. Coming back to the plugins, I would say that the mightiest compressor plugin, Waves does one, the Fairchild one. I think it was the Pew Child 60. It's named after Jack Joseph. I can't pronounce the name now, but it's Puig. So there you go. It's the Fairchild plugin, basically. It's modeled after his Fairchild. We can discuss it later on this series, on one of the series when I do a video on compressors, maybe plugins and hardware. I love hardware compressors. I love they're the best. Well, if you want to go for the plugins, it's okay, because Waves does very good ones, and then UA Audio does very good ones as well. But whenever possible, stick to hardware, compressor-wise anyway. A good source for mastering stuff, I'll leave a couple of links down there, because there's nice videos on YouTube about what mastering actually is and how it's a very subtle art form, and it doesn't really require, you don't have to go at it full force, you know. When you're doing mixing, you might go from one extreme to the other. Even EQing stuff when mixing, those are done pretty much to either avoid problems or to give a certain quality to an instrument. In mastering, it's basically just, you look at the whole piece, look at your players, what do you have there, and then you start doing a kind of a leveling action when you bring guitars a bit further or a bit back, and then trying to bring the bass to cover the whole section basically and not be in the middle, or make it a bit more wider, a bit more warmer. Snares if they're being buried under crashes or the likes, guitars, or any other percussive instruments that might be there. They're just like, okay, we'll bring out the snare a little bit, maybe boost up the high end, maybe take away a little bit of the snare body, something like this. All these actions in mastering are done with small steps, with small adjustments, and it's rarely on a master you see anything. If you're doing a master and you look at your EQ settings, it's rarely more than like 3.5 dB on a specific area. If you find that you're doing something like in mastering, if you find that you're boosting the high end about like 20 dB or plus, then there might be something wrong with the mix itself. It's also important to remember that when you send a mix to be mastered, you need to have headroom on your songs, because if you do a loud mix, if you're using Logic or Pro Tools and it's going to be almost at the red, then your mix is going to be too loud and you're going to have to tone it down a little bit. When mastering, it's all about the headroom. If you don't have that much headroom to work with, then you're not going to be able to do that much mastering anyways. You're just going to be able to apply a limiter and then just like, okay, crank everything up so the meter doesn't move at all during the song, so it's going to be as loud as possible all the time. It's going to be one of the worst ones ever made. Ever. Just make sure that it's not too loud. I would say I tend to keep my mixes down to -12 or -16 on the digital world. If I was doing this on an analog desk, I would keep my mixes around -12 dBu. And also, it's important to remember that in the digital world, the metering is done normally with ppm metering. It's not going to give you an average reading of the whole orchestra. It's going to give you like the peak power readings of the whole thing. But try to keep your mixes a bit lower, because it's just gonna give the mastering engineer so much more room to work with, and he's gonna be able to do his stuff better, basically. So anyway, we'll be looking at some mastering stuff later on. I'm gonna show you a master that I did on my own as well. And I'll show you what I've learned and how I'm doing my mastering. I'm going to be doing it the wrong way because I don't have speakers. I don't have good speakers anyway. So I'm going to have to do it on headphones, which is kind of a no-no when you're doing a master. But hey, that's the nature of the beast, basically. We're going to go ahead and take a look at one of my masters that I did earlier on my next video. So we'll look at that next time around, and we'll see you again. I'll be out for a week, but after that I'll be back on track with the videos. Hope you learned something from this about mastering, and we'll see you soon again when we'll do an actual master live and here. Goodbye.